everyone, and welcome back to Word of Grace. I'm so glad to have you back here, and I hope everyone had a really amazing Christmas. Got to spend time with family and friends, and so I hope everyone had an amazing holidays. Today I will be sharing some of the things that I learned in 2019. So a few of the lessons, little pick-me-ups, advices that I got from people. And so we are going to jump straight into it. All right, so beginning of 2019. I was in probably a really tough place at that time. And so 2019 was really a time for me to find God. So yes, I was in church, I was serving, all of those things, but it was still a difficult place. So beginning of 2019 was really about me finding God. And that was the time when I heard that, I'm going to be there with you all the way through. I thought, that sounds nice. But for me, I thought I'm going to be with you all the way through meant 2019 was going to be like a smooth sailing journey. Unfortunately, what that meant was that there were going to be quite a few storms that came up, but that God would be with me through it all. And so 2019, I was busy for most of the year. And I remember one of the things that my sister, shout out to Auntie Debbie, my sister would always say, Grace, too many friends. And for me, I thought, she was an enemy of progress. She just didn't want me to be young and free. I just wanted to serve and do good things. And so for me, in my heart, and in my mind, I was doing good things. I was showing up for people when they needed me. I was showing up for the community when I was needed. I was basically doing everything that I felt a good Christian girl or a good African woman should be doing. But unfortunately, what I was actually doing was wearing myself out, and I didn't even realize that. So I'd go and I'd do this and I'd be here and I'd be doing all of those things, and I'd come home and not have time for myself. So that personal time of, okay, this is the time when Grace is by herself, where Grace is praying by herself, where Grace is reading scriptures by herself, where Grace is thinking about her future by herself. That time was next to non-existent. It was literally like go out, do everything that I need to do, the a million things that I needed to cram into the day, come home, lie on my bed, exhausted. Okay, what do I need to do tomorrow? Quickly schedule the day for tomorrow and then sleep. That was literally my 2019 for a long time. But it was still a good year, because I was so busy, I felt like I was achieving things. And so I'll do all of those things, and it didn't really start turning upside down until I started losing people. So people in my life started disappearing. And here's how that happened. So one night, I was so disappointed that I prayed a prayer and I said, God, I don't want anything in my life that's not meant to be in there. And that includes people. And this was after, I'd gone and done the whole service thing. We had a church and came back and I was like, yay, filled with the Holy Spirit, Let me talk to God. And then I prayed that prayer. And literally within a month, I started to see a lot of things happening. People that I thought were for me that were falling out of my life. And some in very easy, one day they were there, the next minute they were gone. And some in really dramatic ways, because God needed to show me, something about personality and character, and something about myself as well. So how I handle things. And so that started happening. And I started to realize that, all that my sister was saying had depth to it. So yes, it's good to have people that surround you. It's good to have friends, but don't make friends your only motivation, basically. So don't do things just to be pleasing friends. There are people that every single day you're out with someone. Every single day you're doing this. I'm not saying don't live your best life. Auntie, live your best life. Uncle, do what you need to do. But make sure that you're leaving time for yourself. And that's one of the biggest lessons that I learned in 2019, to always make sure that I've left time for myself. Even if it means that I sit in my room for the whole day, I would do it. And the greatest thing of all is when you change in your life, people need to be able to see that. So I can sit here and say, now I'm not all about friends and blah, 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 blah anymore. But people need to be able to see that change in me. And this is how I know I'm successful, yeah? Yesterday I was talking to somebody and I said, oh yeah, I'm just chilling at home. And they said, wow, you know, every time I've spoken to you, you've been at home. You've changed your life. And I said, yeah, that's me. Life changed. But anyway, no, in all seriousness, people need to be able to see the fruit, right? You can't say, I've changed, and nobody's seeing anything. Like, someone needs to be able to testify. Someone needs to be able to say, you know what? I agree. Grace used to really be this way. Like, Grace, but now she's a nice, friendly somebody. You can talk to her. You can smile with her. All of those things. Someone needs to be able to testify to that. And if nobody is stepping up to testify, my sister, my brother, you have not changed. There's no change in you. So don't make friends your number one priority. They're not the be all and end all of life. So don't make them your number one priority. That was the biggest lesson for me in 2019. The other one was always to lean on God, right? So, that's, I guess, like a side lesson. So it's always to lean on God, but also to always listen and listen attentively, right? So at the beginning of 2019, I decided I was going to move to Australia. And I was so pumped. I was like, yeah, we're going to do it. Started looking for places to live, all of those things, looking into how to basically sell my things and make the move. And it didn't happen. Unfortunately, I told everybody that I was moving to Australia. So it was a little bit like, okay, so when are you leaving? I was like, I'm not moving anymore, because it didn't happen. Like, no matter how much I tried and pushed for it to happen, it just didn't happen. So eventually I was like, you know what, God, whatever. If you don't want me to move, I won't move. I will stay here and do whatever you want me to do, blah, 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 blah. But the reason I wasn't supposed to move was because there were lessons that I needed to learn, things that I needed to learn in New Zealand, Auckland to be specific. And so, yeah, I stayed, learned my lessons, and it wasn't even a long time. It was maybe like three months in between, maybe 4 months in between the time I said I wanted to leave and the time that I actually left. And so a time came and I just had this urge to go. And I was like, okay, let me pray about this, before I even start, because I've had this urge before. So I prayed about it and I said, okay, God, this is what I want to do. Originally, I wanted to move to Melbourne. I was going to be a Melbourne babe. I was going to, go on the trams and all of that. I liked that idea. And so I kept pushing for Melbourne and pushing, and God was just resisting. But I kept pushing. I was like, you said I can have whatever I want. I want Melbourne. God was like, nah, fam. We are not going to Melbourne. We are going to Canberra. I said no. So I kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and everything I did fell through. And so I decided, you know what? We're going to do Canberra. And God said, choose a date and everything will fall through. But for me, I said, I want to get my job. I want to do da-da-da-da-da before I choose a date. Anyway, long story short, eventually I had to choose a date before everything fell through. And so that in itself taught me a big lesson about just listening and obeying. Like, not just listening and saying, yeah, God, I've heard you, but listening and being like, yeah, God, I've heard you, and I will do it, and I will take steps towards it. And this is what I'm going to do, and da-da-da-da-da, and following God's instruction, yeah? So, lesson number 1, friends are not the end all and be all. Don't make them your priority. Lesson number 2, God before everything else, right? Mm-hmm. But listening to God, like actually listen and do as he has instructed, because if you don't, you are creating extra work for yourself. Mm-hmm. You are just going roundabouts where you should be going straight, like you're going to come back to the same place. So you might as well listen in the first place so that you don't have to go back to it again. And then lesson number 3 was, okay, this is just 3 lessons, guys, just 3. So the third lesson was to not settle, right? To not settle. And it's so important that you don't settle, if not for anything, then for the purpose of yourself, or for the purpose of your purpose, for the purpose of what you need to do on this earth, right? Because so often we get to a point where you get frustrated, like you get lonely, we know that some of us are lonely too. You know, you get lonely, you get frustrated. Sometimes you're like, when will my turn come? You know, you just want it to hurry up. You want it to be fast. And so you do what you need to do to get what you need to get. And sometimes it means settling. But unfortunately, the one decision that you make, the thing we don't realize is that you make one decision in your life, yeah? And it can affect every other thing. So you make this one decision, like, man, you know, it's been a long journey, la da 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 da. Maybe I should just settle. Maybe I should just, you know, let me just date this person. Maybe I should just marry this person. Maybe I should just, you know, maybe I should just do this. Maybe I should just take that job. When you know for a fact that that's not the word that you've been given, that's not the word that God has given you, but you settle anyway because you're tired of waiting. And when you do that, you actually, what you end up doing is just messing your own life up, to be honest, because it can drive you away from what you're supposed to do. If I'd settled, honestly, there's so much that I would be doing now that I probably wouldn't be doing. First of all, I wouldn't be in Canberra, for starters, because the last time I moved while I was in a relationship, it didn't go well. So I probably would have not moved because I want to be in a relationship. I wouldn't be where I am with God. I wouldn't be where I am with my career. I wouldn't be doing a lot of things because I have settled. And so I want to encourage somebody today moving into 2020, because 2019 has taught us all lessons. Don't lose those lessons. Don't let them go. Hold on to it. You know, talk to somebody about those lessons. Let someone else talk to you about their lessons. Hold on to it and learn from those things, you know, like, don't make friends your priority. Listen to God and obey his instructions, and don't settle for less when God has told you that this is where you're going. And that's my 3 things from 2019. I hope that you'll be able to write down your list so that in 2020 you can remind yourself whenever you need to remind yourself of those lessons and how they came to be. I pray that this week will be a great week for you and your family and your loved ones. I pray that nothing that is bad or not from God will happen to you guys, that we'll all safely go into 2020, that we'll all continue to be filled with joy and love and happiness, and that our 2020 will actually be smooth. All right, so thank you so much for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, share. And I will see you again next week. All right. Mwah. Bye.